everybody, welcome to the Deanna Marie Coaching channel, and this is what I consider the inaugural video. My intro video is the first, but this is the first little video where I'm going to share and offer some coaching advice, and as you saw in the title, it is 5 tips to jumpstart the recovery process after breaking up. This is that time of year where it is breakup season. I know many of you are going through the pain of having just broken up with someone over New Year's. Totally sucks, I know. Breakup season, believe it or not, is just before Thanksgiving all the way to Valentine's Day. I know many of you do not want to hear that. It does not make you feel good, but those are the stats. It is ramped up for a variety of reasons, and I have shared a couple of links down below for articles that talk more about it. But you are not here to read articles. I know you've probably already surfed your way through the web on that as you are going through box after box of Kleenex or glass after glass of wine. So here are the 5 tips I'm going to share to quick start or jumpstart the recovery process now that you are, kind of getting into the flow of it. The first tip is to allow yourself to work through the emotions. We have these negative emotions of pain and anger and hurt and crying because it's a release of a lot of heartache and what we need to get through in order to process. And many people unfortunately suppress those feelings. They want to power through it and, just put it behind them and say, that jerk, wasn't worth my time and doesn't deserve me. And then, you suppress it. It's actually not good because we've heard about bottled up feelings. And what ends up happening is that over time, you're going to explode. Something is going to happen. So tip number 1 is to work through and release those emotions that you need to work through. The second tip for recovering is going to sound counterintuitive, but hear me out. And that is mark a recovery date on your calendar. Now, what I mean by that is anytime you want to start a new habit, you have a habit tracker. So you say, okay, on January 1st, I'm going to the gym and I'm going to work out every day. And you start marking those days on the calendar and you track your progress. By marking a date to start recovering from the breakup on the calendar, and I recommend 5 to 7 days after the breakup. So many of you are probably in this, area right now if you broke up on January 1st or New Year's Eve. And the reason why I'm saying to mark it on the calendar is because I just want you to be aware of not being stuck in a deep hole. And we've all heard about people who are suffering great loss or grief after a marriage or actually after having lost someone. And there is a turning point where you should begin to recover, or you're still being the victim. You're still in a state or could move into a state of depression. And by marking a date on a calendar, today is the day I'm going to start the recovery process or really start healing or really start moving on, is going to be so beneficial to you. And it's also going to make you realize, I'm going to talk to girls, but I know men and women are probably watching this. But if you look and say, girl, you've been drinking 5 days straight hard, and today's the recovery day, and it's been 5 days since he broke up with you, that's going to be like a switch that is going to nudge you and make you realize, oh my God, I've been crying every day straight for 5 days. Now, I am not suggesting that you have to start the recovery process 5 days after. We all have to take our time and we work through the emotions, but the point is to have it scheduled, to be aware that at some point you do want to start on the recovery path. So tip number 2 is mark a recovery date on the calendar just so you can start the process of actually truly deeply recovering. Tip number 3. Tip number 3 is find outside support And I mean outside support away from friends and family. And I'm going to give a little bit of cautionary advice on this one, but I do feel it is important if you haven't already done so. When we have a breakup, whether it's a divorce or from a long-term relationship, whether we're the ones that broke up with the person or they broke up with us, there is a tendency for family and friends, well-meaning or not, to offer advice that is not only unsolicited, but doesn't help you. You can have the aunt that's, oh, I'm sorry, dear, I'm sorry that happened to you, and it will be better. And that, you're like, okay, thank you, but all right, thank you. And then you have other advice of, I always knew he was a jerk. I always knew she was never going to work out. You don't need that shit. You do not need to hear it that way. What outside support does in the way of Facebook groups or outside support groups is it allows you a place to vent with other people who are grieving. Because let's face it, breaking up or getting out of a long-term relationship is a loss. It's a deep, serious loss. Now, the caution on this is that when you are in these support groups, you want to be mindful and careful that when you have worked through your grief, when you've done all the venting and shared in a safe place, all of the things, all of your pains and hurts and struggles, when you are ready to move on, you may need to move out. And the reason you may need to move out is because many of these support groups, hugely valuable, absolutely necessary, they do tend, though, think about it, to bring in fresh recruits. And if you're looking for that group where it's, okay, I've cried and I've gone through all the emotions and I'm ready to start rebuilding my life and move on, you may not have that positive information or support you now need to move on. And that's why I'm cautioning you, when you do go to these support groups, be sure they're giving you what you need at all times. So again, tip number 3 is finding that outside support away from family and friends. And family and friends are necessary, don't get me wrong, they really are. But you want to find, and it will help you accelerate the process if you find the support groups that are in a safe environment and are a little bit more, I'm going to say objective. So tip number 4 is going to sound, it's going to be a little weird, because the method's weird, but it does work. It does work. And that is mirror work. What that is, and I put a link below, is just giving yourself positive affirmation. And you can turn a negative into a positive, which is something like, I wasn't good enough for him, and that's why he left me for that other woman, to I am better than good enough for him. I deserved better than him, and I know that I will find someone who is deserving of me. Now, it also, in the mirror work, is, I suggest starting out with the real basics, which is loving on yourself. You need to love on you. Saying in the mirror, I am worthy of love. I love you for who you are now. I love the person that you are and that you're going to become. At first, you are going to fucking cry your eyes out. You may look down. You may look away. You may even say, this is weird. You may laugh. But when you look deeply into your eyes, it is very impactful and eye-opening. I strongly recommend anyone, not even who broke up, but anyone who's going through any kind of personal or self-development and who wants to become self-aware, to try mirror work. It is very effective, and you will see, oh my gosh, it's such a confidence booster. I can't even begin to tell you. It's a huge confidence booster. So please, 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 if you're going through that hurt and that pain, please try some mirror work. And then finally, the 5th tip for jumpstarting the recovery after breaking up is to do the tapping method. Now, the tapping method in some ways is similar to the mirror work. Again, I've put a link down below of a very well-known tapping, I don't know if they're called tapping artists or tapping coaches, teachers, but this tapping instructor is phenomenal. And what you do is you just basically kind of redirect and you do this tapping method and you say these affirmations to yourself, but it's working through your feelings. So it could be something as, I'm really pissed and I'm really angry. It sucks that he broke my heart. It sucks that he broke up with me. It sucks that he left me for this other woman. So you're venting in some ways, but then you work towards, I know I deserve better. I know this is temporary. I know this will make me stronger. And it's, again, going to feel a little bizarre at first when you do it if you're not accustomed to it, but it is another confidence booster and it will accelerate the process of working through a broken heart. So the 5 tips again for jump-starting the recovery process is to 1, work through and acknowledge your feelings and emotions. Number 2 is to mark on the calendar a recovery date or date you're going to start the process of recovering and healing. Tip number 3 is to find outside support separate from your friends and family. Tip number 4 is to begin and practice mirror work. And tip number 5 is to begin a tapping method. And here is a bonus tip for you because I do feel it is really impactful and will help you along your journey to recovery, and that is making a playlist. I had a playlist that was both mixed with songs of heartbreak and then songs of empowerment. And it is important to have both types of songs. And that's because, again, this allows you an outlet for your emotions and for crying and grieving. And then the positive songs allow you, it tells your brain there's hope. It tells your brain, look, I have had my fair share of heartache, especially after, I ended a 25-year marriage. And then shortly thereafter got into a very toxic relationship with a narcissist who fucking broke my heart to pieces, a million pieces. And I did a lot of work, and I'm telling you, and I'm now in a very happy, healthy relationship. But I'm telling you that working through the process of the grief, working through those moments of, I still feel the pain of the heart of the breakup. I remember thinking, what did I do wrong? Why am I not worthy? It's always about you, right? Like, what is it that you weren't enough? And I had those songs to work through that grief and that pain. And I forgot to share in my intro, I'm such an emotional person. So, I'm not even going to apologize. Like, this is me working through emotions. The pain of a breakup, when you don't feel like you're enough, really sucks. And it's not a pain that you can help anybody protect themselves against. But the good part is that when you have those power songs that give you hope and that, you're confident. And when you get to that point of realizing that person is one of 7 billion people, one. And guess what? Even if you dwindle and shrink those numbers to where you are on the planet and where you are in the world, the state, the city you live in, you will quickly realize that was one person. And there's so many more people out there. And while the journey may be long to find that person that you're meant to be with, they are out there. And guess what? They are looking for you. And when you're ready to look for them, they will be there for you. So these songs, both the ones to work through your emotions when you feel like, shit, this is like the hardest thing right now. And then you play the songs that say, I'm confident, I'm powerful, I am worthy of love, and I will find that person that I deserve to be with. It's going to help you get through this. So I hope that this video has helped you in some small way, feel free to leave a comment below about anything that you would like to learn more about on this channel. And also let me know if you practice any of the mirror work or the tapping methods. And even if you have a playlist on Spotify, then, share it. And maybe others would like to, hop on that, and that might help them recover. I have, in addition to the tapping method and mirror work, and the articles have included my Spotify playlist for working through a breakup. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope it has helped you in some small way to start living a happier life and recovering from your breakup. Until the next time, this is Deanna wishing you love, joy, and peace, and I hope that you love more and choose happiness. Ciao.